Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, bring you guys awesome interviews. Today is an honor and privilege to have my good friend back on the show here with me, Mr. Jeff Waldridge. But this time we're not going to be talking about wrestling. We're going to be talking about one of their events that they're putting on. He is one of the event promoters over the first annual Cryptid Con. It's the Bigfoot Monsters and Legends, Saturday, September 9th and Sunday, September 10th. At the Capitol Plaza Hotel in Frankfort, Kentucky, featuring leading researchers, authors. They're going to have lectures, plus filmmakers and vendors, and plus you can meet special guests James Bobo Fay and Cliff Brockman from Finding Bigfoot, plus Nick Groff of Paranormal Lockdown and Ghost of Shepherdstown is going to make an appearance, and plus many more, plus many other things that you can do there for all you cryptozoologists, paranormal people, stuff like that, if you like this kind of stuff. So, Jeff, welcome to the show, and how's it going?
Oh, it's going good. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Doing pretty good.
Oh, good.
Let's jump right into this. So, this is a little different. You guys are going from the horror side and paranormal side to the cryptozoology side, but with this first annual convention for this side, what made you guys want to do a cryptid con instead of your normal paranormal and horror convention? What was it that made you guys say, yeah, now this would be cool to do something special like this?
I think the biggest thing with it is we seen a void. And, there's all these Bigfoot conferences, and you got Mothman Festival, and you got all these other little things. But there's really not a convention that covers every one of them, where everybody can have a home. And it's very popular, and it's one of the most popular things that's really not pushed to the mainstream like it should be, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You have Bigfoot conventions and things, but we wanted to do something where we could cover everybody. Whether it may be Bigfoot, it might be Dogman, it could be, let's say, the Pope Lick monster or some of these other creatures from around America. We wanted to try to do something where we could bring everybody in and give everybody a chance to learn a little bit, or see some of these vendors and things. So that's kind of what we're shooting for on this, and we want to try to bring all this stuff to the spotlight, and that's kind of where we're going with it.
I know you guys broke off from the other conventions that you guys used to help out with and plan, but when and how long have you guys been planning for an event like this? And plus, finding folks that cover and research this type of stuff. So, I mean, was it hard to get some of these folks, possibly?
Well, me and Lee and Jennifer Kirkland, and we're the main promoters. And then, of course, Nick Groff is actually one of the producers of it. And basically what we wanted to do was we started kind of thinking about this, I would say probably 2 or 3 years ago, when we really started kind of saying, well, we do want to kind of get back into the convention business, but I know that may sound nuts because, good Lord, that's a pain sometimes. Yeah. And when we started talking about it, I was like, well, I think if we do something, let's do something unique. And we started kind of looking around, and Lee was talking about, well, Bigfoot, and then we all just kind of got together and said, well, let's just bring them all together and do one that covers every bit of it. And so that's where we went to, and we started doing our research, and we started visiting some of these other conferences, and we seen that there was a opportunity there to fill a hole that I think that cryptid fans and also just mainstream paranormal fans have. You have these Bigfoot conferences, and a lot of times they're held at a park or something like that where Bigfoot's been spotted. And we're going to take it and we're going to put this in a hotel, most kind of using that horror movie or horror convention or fandom convention theory. And that's kind of the way we're going to put it out there. It's kind of going to have that groundwork, and we're going to give everybody, whether you're a guy that just started reading about cryptids or you're a man that's been researching Bigfoot for 10 years, we're going to have a spot for everybody there. So that's kind of what we're going for.
Do you guys feel like it's been rougher to get cryptozoologist guests versus how easy it has been to get paranormal guests
actually, here's the big thing with that. I've been into cryptids my whole life. When I started to read books and things, I always was into that stuff. But the problem was when I was reading these books when I was in, middle school and things like that. That's before the internet got popular. So, you didn't have a chance to just get on there and look at all these different cryptids from all across America.
Right.
And then you would get maybe one book that would cover different cryptids, but then you may just get some that were Bigfoot. So I absolutely love this opportunity to bring, say, a guy that researches the Loveland Frogman in Loveland, Ohio, and let him speak about it. Or let's bring a guy in that researches Dogman, and let's give everybody an opportunity to learn a little bit. And I like to make it an educational experience and also a fun fandom type of event. And what we found was we already knew a lot of these people. We had them speak at other events, and we knew of some of these researchers, and we've had fun discovering others. And so when we put it out there, we didn't know how it was going to be received. And we had researchers contacting us from all over the place wanting to come and speak. And we just kind of sorted through and said, well, let's have these this time. And then in year two, we'll look at these folks. So we're already looking at a year two and already looking at topics and things that we want to cover. So it's been pretty neat, actually. And it's given me a chance to connect with folks that I've always wanted to talk to about some of these different creatures.
Do you think that conventions are missing out on bringing these cryptozoologist people into their events? Because I think it would add more spice to what you're putting into your convention, especially stuff like that.
Here's the thing that I've found. I've found that you're going to get people that are into a little bit of everything. And you may get some guy that says, well, I don't believe in ghosts. But yet he might say, well, I do believe in Bigfoot.
True.
Or you might get a guy that says, oh, I don't even think there's a Bigfoot out there, but there are aliens. Now, there's aliens. See what I'm saying? So, I mean, you might get somebody that don't believe necessarily in one thing, but then they're into something else really deeply. And I think, honestly, you're cheating yourself out of anything. If you're doing a paranormal convention, for sure, you should have a little bit of everything. And I think one thing that happens with a lot of these conventions is they copycat off somebody else. And then once they copycat off somebody else, they pigeonhole themselves into a certain part, whether it be a horror convention and they say, well, I want to do a horror convention, so let's just go over here and look at what he's done instead of trying to be original. And you can bring in monster movie things. That's one thing that we may look into. We may look into really, I mean, the possibilities are endless, teaming up with other events and teaming up with other genres. But I think the biggest part is a lot of these conventions, they're not original. They don't try to break new ground. And that's where fans get bored and they try to, you got to realize these people have to decide where to spend their money. And we want them to try to come out and have fun, not just to come out and drain every dollar that they got. That's why when we start doing Cryptid Con, I said the biggest thing I want to make sure is that we make it affordable for a family of 5 to come out and have fun. Yeah. Because if a family of 5 can't come out and afford it, then that's silly. That they need the opportunity to do something fun just like anybody else.
Well, sure. I totally agree with that. You got to make it family fun. You have to.
Yeah, and you got to make it affordable for people. I see these conventions all the time. They go out here and they get these people, and that's one thing I was very particular about when we were doing the other convention is these photo ops that you see these days, man, that killed me because I hated to see somebody have to pay $80 to get a picture with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
I hated to see somebody have to pay $90 for an autograph. The working man don't have that kind of money. And, you go out here and you drain all of his money away, well, he's going to say, well, Lord, I can't afford to go over here to this next guy's thing, or I can't afford to go next year. That was expensive. We want to try to make it affordable for not only the fan, but for the vendors. We want everybody to come out and have a good time. We want to set that atmosphere and let everybody to have that experience.
Now, how has it been working with the Capitol Plaza Hotel in Frankfurt on doing this convention, and was there any other locations the event maybe could be moved to in the near future, or let's talk about that a little bit maybe.
With Frankfurt, we wanted to try to keep somewhere that was centrally located. Now, of course, Lawrenceburg, it don't have the venue that you need to put on a show like this. Capitol Plaza is good, but here's another thing we ran into. They're not used to having fandom type of events. So this has kind of been a learning experience for them, not only for them, but for also the community. So we've hit some roadblocks from time to time there, and we've had to work with the tourism division and the Chamber of Commerce and say, listen, here's the way we're doing things. Here's what's going on. So we've had to try to educate these communities. So is Capitol Plaza going to be the home of Cryptid Con for years to come? We're not sure. If it grows to the point where it may not be able to be contained there, we have nowhere else to grow. So we may have to move it to a larger city. Who knows? But, you know, we want to definitely keep it somewhere where, you know, we got a good airport. We got where people can drive there within 30 or 40 minutes and get there and go back home. So we want to make it where it's convenient and people from Eastern Kentucky can come and they don't have to drive a day and, you know, to get there. And
sure.
By the time they get done with the event, they can't get back home. So we want to make it somewhere where everybody can get there and get back home, because I think that's fair. You know, that's one thing a lot of promoters don't realize. You got an event in Louisville, and you can't get a guy from Eastern Kentucky to come there because there's no way in the world he's going to be able to get to Louisville and then get back home. It's just, you know that yourself.
Oh, I know it.
I mean, it's just, you know, a lot of promoters don't think about that. And you got to think about these people that want to come to these things. Give them an opportunity somehow to get there and do one.
Lexington is cool because that's about almost 2 hours for me. But, you know, going to Louisville, that's 4 hours.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
You know, and plus...
And what we were talking before we started going live here about the state fair.
Yeah.
For somebody from Eastern Kentucky, I mean, my Lord, you might as well make a vacation out of that.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, because there's no way you're going to be able to get down there and get back home in a reasonable amount of time. So that's what we're going to try to do. We try to put our events in a location where a person in Louisville can get there easy. Person from Eastern Kentucky can drive a couple hours and get there and still get back home.
What about the interest from locals and plus Capitol Plaza and plus the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism? What's their thoughts on this, man? Do they kind of like,
They love it.
Really?
They're actually very excited for it.
That's awesome.
And, you know, that's the thing sometimes. You go into these venues with some of these wacky ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it's not wacky to us. You know, we're horror fans. We're paranormal fans, so it's not wacky to us. But we go in there and we're talking to a guy in a business suit, and you'd be very shocked how many people are into this kind of thing. And they were really, really, really excited. They still are. And the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, they're like, man, we're excited. We want to come. We're going to be there. Because people are interested in these things. People in Frankfurt are interested. And honestly, where I live in Lawrenceburg in Anderson County, it's got one of the highest amounts of sightings of Bigfoot across the state. So this area has a great interest in creatures. So, you know, sometimes when you go into these things, you don't know how people are going to be receptive. But honestly, they have been very, very, very welcoming. In the Capitol Plaza, you couldn't ask for a better place so far. And, you know, the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, they've been very, very, very helpful. Now, the city, we still got to kind of work some things out with them because with not having fandom events, they don't know how to charge certain permits and things. So that's one thing we're working with now.
I think if I went in and said, hey, I want to have a stripper convention, I think that would be frowned upon. So,
well, you never know. You know, if you go to Lexington, they'd be like, well, that'd be all right. Let's do one. You know, I guess you would have to pick out where your audience is. Lexington or Louisville, Lord, you'd probably sell out. Now, if it would be a trade show, that's what you'd have to figure. Is it going to be a trade show, or are we going to sell them, like, you know, platform shoes, or, you know, what are we going to go for?
This is the Stripper Poe 2014. Look at this one. This is an old model.
This is this new, you know, this new shoe. This is this new pole.
Yeah, really.
Hell, you might have more than you ever thought about.
What experience do you hope the folks take away when they leave Cryptid Con that Sunday?
Well, I personally have a couple of different ones, and it's kind of always it was with the paranormal side of things. I want to give a place, and we always talked about it when me and Lee and Jennifer got into this, place where somebody could come if they're interested and get educated. So maybe they learn about something they didn't know about Bigfoot from some of these experts. We wanted to give it a gathering spot for researchers, where there's maybe several different researchers come, and they say, well, how are you doing? You know, kind of like where a community can come together and network. And, you know, a researcher may get in there and meet another guy that's into Bigfoot. Well, they may form a team. You never know. And then, of course, for the fandom side of things, that's why we got Bobo and Cliff, and then we got Nick there. And it's just where they can come out and meet some folks that they've seen on TV. So we wanted to pull in 3 different ways, and that's kind of what we're shooting for on this. Now, with the filmmaker side of things, there's people out there that are making these documentaries, and they're doing a really good job. Small Town Monsters, people need, if they're really interested in this stuff. They've done some documentaries on Bigfoot and Mothman, and they've got some more getting ready to come out. And, they do a fantastic job. Steph Breedlove is the director of these things, and he does really great, and that's what we're going to show some folks too, is some of these documentarians and things.
Now, I know we've got horror conventions and things out there right now, but what sets Cryptid Con apart from those other conventions that are out there right now?
It's new, it's fresh, there's nothing ever been done like this. I would hate to make the claim, but I think we may be the first people to bring everything into one location, and not just focus on one cryptid or one creature. Now, I'm sure there's been little ones here or there maybe, but this is everybody. This is everything. We may bring in somebody that talks about, an alien abduction or something, and that would be in the legend part of things. The Pope Lake Monster would fall into that legend category. Bigfoot, of course, is its own genre, pretty much. Even though it is cryptozoology, it's really kind of formed its own fan base. And then, of course, monsters could be anything. You've got monsters all across America that people have seen, from lizard men to werewolf-type creatures to big, large frogs to lake monsters. It's really, it's very diverse. The Loch Ness Monster is one of the most famous monsters out there.
Sure.
So, you've got a lot that you can pull from there. And we want to try to bring all of that stuff in. Now, something unique that we're going to start doing is, in the future, I'd like to bring some of these eyewitnesses in and have them speak. And we've kind of dug into a little bit of that this year. But I think that's very important, because if you've got somebody that's had a really good Bigfoot eyewitness account or one of these other creatures, it would be really great for people to hear their story live. Because a lot of times you see it wrote about in newspapers or magazines or podcasts, but give our fans a chance to ask the questions that they're sitting there listening to and they want to know. So that's kind of one thing that we're shooting for with this too, is we want to try to put the people in front of researchers that will help them out or might be able to learn from their experience.
So what's been your favorite part about all this, putting this together for the first time?
It's easy so far. That's the craziest thing. It's blew my mind. You got to realize, being used to putting together a convention that draws between 10 and 15,000 people, that's a pain in the ass.
Sure.
And we all 3 experienced every bit of that. Me and Lee and Jennifer was, oh God, it'd drive you nuts. But doing something on a smaller scale where you still have quite a big space, it just seems like it's been so easy because we've got that experience. And we can say, well, we need to do this or we need to do that. And we've had full creative control because it's just us. So we'll get together, we'll figure out what we want to do and how we want to do it. We all have very similar styles. We all have very similar likes. And we kind of shoot down that hole and make decisions as a team. And it's really, I've loved getting back into it and doing the promotion side of things, being on these podcasts. And I've loved getting back into it, booking some of these guests and, figuring out different things and different topics to bring to people. And for me, and I know Lee and them feel the same way, but for me, I love seeing the fans experience the event. That's one of the most fulfilling things to me that I always loved. When I would have fans come in and you see them having a good time and you see them taking pictures. Because really, for me, it's about making memories for the people that are coming there.
Yeah.
If you have a family of 4 or whatever, and they're coming there as a family, well, they'll never forget that. Those pictures will last them for the rest of their lives, and they'll always remember, those kids will and that family will, coming and getting to see Bobo or getting to see somebody that they've seen on TV. They will remember that forever, and we want them to have a good experience. So for me, build that fan experience again. I love that more than anything. And I think Lee and Jennifer, I know they feel the same way. And I just love watching the fans experience something that you've worked hard on.
especially like you do paranormal and I used to do paranormal. You know, when folks come to you and they tell you their story, you don't look at them like they're stupid or crazy. And you've got a little kid,
No.
and you've got a little kid that may be interested in cryptozoology, that may be 13, 14. He gets all of his questions answered to the best of the cryptozoologist's knowledge. That's going to leave a huge memory for that little kid, man.
One of our speakers this year, I believe he's 16 years old, and this kid's like a savant when it comes to cryptozoology.
Nice.
He contacted us. He was referred to us. I talked to some other researchers that knew him. I mean, he's researched this stuff his whole life to this point. So, I mean, you've got to look. When you start reading books, well, Lord, he's already got probably 12, 13 years experience, depending on when you start watching movies and things like that. So, I mean, he's into this stuff. So, yeah, we gave him a chance. We said, come on, well, let's talk. I think it'd be interesting because you got to encourage people, because these are the next generation of people that are going to be researching this stuff. And let them come out, let them get educated. And it's also good for, say, father and son that, maybe the son's into Bigfoot and they can bond over this stuff. And maybe the dad's been into this stuff, I have daughters, and one of them's more into Bigfoot than she is ghost. So for her, she's more into creatures and things. And so, I took her to Mothman last year, and it was just a really fun time. We got to go out, and, it was her first trip she'd really been on, and we stayed in a hotel, and then we went to the Mothman Festival, and she got to see the Mountain Monster cast. So to her, it was amazing. She was in hog heaven. So I love seeing that. I love seeing people experience that thing, and I like seeing people that let their kids and encourage them to go after whatever they want to, not just saying, well, that stuff ain't real. Who's to say what's real? Mm-hmm. Like I said, you may have a guy that ain't in a ghost, but then you find out he's into Bigfoot. We found out this promoting this kind of stuff. We'll be talking to a guy. When Lee told me a story, he was at Outdoor Expo in Lexington, and he was promoting everything. And he was talking about this and that. And, one guy said, well, I don't believe in ghosts, but boy, I do Bigfoot. And so, you're going to get those kind of people that, who's to say what to believe anymore? Because this guy don't believe in Bigfoot or ghosts, but he believes that the aliens exist. Yep. So, you got to kind of craft it for everybody. But, people, I love seeing people enjoy this stuff. It's funny to kind of see them meet Bobo, because Bobo is just amazing. He's one of the funnest guys you'll ever imagine. He's everything you dreamed he would be from watching him on TV. You see him on TV, you see what a character he is. Well, he's larger than that in life. So I'm telling you right now, Bobo he's fun. You got to spend time with him, talk to him. You want to learn about Bigfoot. I'm telling you right now, you start talking to that man, he'll teach you something. Cliff, the same way. Cliff is such an awesome researcher. And these guys have gotten the opportunity through finding Bigfoot to go out to some of the hottest spots in America and do what they love to do. And I just think that's awesome. So, we can talk a little bit about some of the guests. We can kind of run down through some of them. I can kind of tell you a little bit about them if you'd like. But, yeah, Cliff and Bobo, I'm telling you now, they're what you would imagine from being on TV.
I'll tell you another person who would absolutely eat this up is Josh Gates. I know for a fact he would.
Oh yeah. Josh is awesome. He loves this stuff. I'll tell you, it's fun. I've been to events with Josh, and there may be somebody we talk to in the future. But I've been to events with Josh, and it's fun to watch him interact with some of these researchers that are not necessarily famous to the general fan, but Josh being somebody that's researched this stuff. He kind of lights up like a kid, on Christmas morning talking to some of these older researchers, and it's fun to watch that interaction sometimes.
Let's talk about the guests. Let's run through that right fast, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, we got Cliff and Bobo from Finding Bigfoot. Like I said, trust me when I tell you, if you want to meet these guys, come out here, talk to them. They will spend time with you. Bobo is just entertaining as hell. We got Nick Groff, of course, from Paranormal Lockdown and Ghost of Shepherdstown. We got them too, he's coming. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a bombshell here. Elizabeth Saint from Ghost of Shepherdstown, they're actually going to send her out to promote the show as well.
Nice.
So she's going to be there. So you'll have the 2 cast members from that show. They're going to send her out to promote the show. They thought it was a good opportunity to do that. You've got Lauren Coleman, which is one of the top cryptozoologists in all of America. He has written book after book after book. And Lauren is great. He's got the International Cryptozoology Museum that he kind of has up there in Maine, I believe, is where it's at. But he's written books. I've read many of his books. He's just a great guy to learn from. We've got Stan Gordon. Stan Gordon was one of the first researchers that has researched and kind of dug into the Kecksburg UFO crash that happened. Now, Stan is not just a UFO guy. He's also researched dogmen and Bigfoot and other creatures. So he's got just a widespread knowledge base that people can learn from. He's been researching all this paranormal phenomena for, golly, I watched Unsolved Mysteries the other day from, it was from I think the late 80s, and Stan was on there. So, he's been doing this stuff forever. I don't want to forget anybody, so I'm kind of going through here. You got Lyle Blackburn. He wrote 2 books, 2 of my favorite books that he's done. They're really cool takes on the Boggy Creek Monster, and then you've got the Lizard Man of South Carolina. Now, the cool thing about Lyle is he really dug into the Boggy Creek Monster, and when he dug into the Boggy Creek Monster, he's always been a horror fan. He's got a band that he travels around with that's a horror themed punk rock band, like a psychobilly type band.
Yeah, Ghoul Town.
But Lyle, man, he dug into those 2 things, and his books are so thorough on those 2 topics. So Lyle will be there. He's awesome. David Weatherly, he's another one. He goes all across the country researching all different types of paranormal things. So he's just put out his 2nd book on Bigfoot. You've got Charlie Raymond. Now, Charlie Raymond is the local researcher in Kentucky. The KB, the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization, I think, is his group. But what big thing cool about Charlie is he does this area. So he's on the ground all the time in different parts of Kentucky. And he's researched Anderson County and different parts thoroughly. So he's going to be talking about that. And he's actually going to be leading a Bigfoot expedition that fans paid to attend. And he'll be taking them out into one of the hot spots in the Anderson County area to do some research and teach them some things. Now, that's sold out, of course, but it'll be kind of cool to see people doing that. You got, Greg and Dana Newkirk. Greg and Dana have the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult. They have haunted items that they bring out. And Greg and Dana have worked very closely with one of our other guests, Geraldine Stith. And she is the leading researcher, and her family are descendants for the Kelly Hopkinsville Little Green Men alien story that happened in the 50s.
I remember that.
So she is actually a descendant. And I believe her father was actually there when it took place. And she's researched that and wrote books on it. And Greg and Dana have worked with her on another little thing that they were working on called the Kentucky Goblins. And they were being sighted in eastern Kentucky. And I put them in contact together because I said, listen, these goblins sound like what was going on in Hopkinsville. So I said, you need to talk to Geraldine. So they got hooked up. And now they've started to share research back and forth, and found that what they were seeing in eastern Kentucky is very similar to what went on in that area in the 50s. So there's some strange things going on there. Now, here's the weird part about that. Hopkinsville is where you can see the eclipse the best. It's one of the top viewing places for the eclipse. It's coming up on the 21st of August. That is also the 50th anniversary of that alien incident.
Oh,
exactly.
Wow.
So
here's my question.
What's going to happen down there?
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you here, but you're a paranormal guy. I'm a paranormal guy. I want your thoughts on this. Eclipse coming in. Would you think that would be a hotbed of, investigating that day and night and after?
Oh yeah. I'm curious about it. And I'm curious to see what effect it's going to have on animals and things.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've heard from people, my grandmother and stuff would tell me about when the other one happened, in the 60s, I believe it was, how the animals would act strange and they thought it was nighttime and stuff like that. And, you know, and there's theories out there that lizard man and Bigfoot are nocturnal creatures. So is that going to bring them out if they think it's nighttime? I mean, who knows?
Possibility.
Who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
I mean, anything could happen. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm trying to think who else we got on there that, you know, we got some other folks that are speakers like Bill Brock and some other folks like that. Bill Brock, he's traveled around too. He used to have a TV show on Animal Planet, I believe it was, where he would go out and research some of these cryptids. But he's researched tons of cryptids. Trying to think what other speakers. The biggest thing that we wanted to do with this is to make it where maybe somebody comes and they're just into Bigfoot. So maybe they come and they're like, well, I just want to meet Bobo. Well, maybe they sit in on a lecture from one of these presenters and they're like, wow, that's something. You know, that's something interesting. We want to give them an opportunity to learn. Now, these vendors that we've gotten, I'll tell you, that has been something that was kind of unique for us. You talk about some of the challenges. That's been one of them, because we had to find the vendors and to staff our vendor hall, because we didn't, you know yourself, going to horror conventions, there's tons of those, you know,
Sure.
selling T-shirts and different things.
Yeah, easy
even
for that
paranormal
part.
things,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But for a cryptozoology convention, who are you going to get to vend there? So what we did was we went out and we attended several different cryptid type conferences, Bigfoot conferences, and we went up to the Dogman Symposium they had. So we found quite a few, and we're sold out. We're out of vendor booths. So, you know, the vendors that we're going to have there are going to be quite interesting people. We got people bringing in artwork. We got people bringing in DVDs, T-shirts. I mean, just anything you could imagine for cryptids, you're going to find it there, you know. So it's been cool to kind of see what they offer. And we've got some really talented artists that all they focus on is cryptozoology art. We got one guy that he makes coloring books for kids, but every one of them are true depictions of cryptid monsters, you know, different creatures from across America, different areas.
That's
so he'll
awesome.
take the different Bigfoots that are described across America, and he'll put them into a coloring book for kids where they can learn about these in a fun way. So his stuff is pretty neat.
That's awesome. A coloring book. That's it. I want the coloring book.
And I'm telling you, he's really good. And it's the cool part about it is he don't make them scary and he don't make them like cartoony. He just draws them in a way where they're just there. You know, they're creatures. He kind of draws them based on eyewitness accounts. And he has posters and coloring books, and they're really well done. And you'll see those there. You know, some of the artists, when we were looking for T-shirt designs, we just opened it up to the fans, and we said, hey, submit artwork, and we'll pick 2 for T-shirts, and we did. And the 2 that we picked are on sale for pre-sale now at CryptidCon.com. You can pre-sale the T-shirts. You can buy them. But one of them focuses strictly on Kentucky monsters. We've got Mothman on there. We've got the Popelik monster. We've got the Little Goblin, or the Kelly Little Green Man. And then we've got Bigfoot on there. And then the other one is kind of a retro, kind of a very stylish design. It's got Bigfoot and different things. I think it's got a jackalope on it too. So, you know, we kind of went with those 2 designs. So really awesome artists come out of the woodworks to send us things.